Welcome back to Topics in Psychology. I'm Dr. Sharon Eve, psychotherapist, author, and educator. And today I want to talk a little bit about learned helplessness. This concept of learned helplessness was studied by a man named Seligman half a century ago, who went on to talk about learned optimism. But I want to focus on the learned helplessness part. I want to talk about the experiments that Seligman did way back when. Things we wouldn't do today because we appreciate how cruel and inhumane it is. But these are things that they did back then. He did studies with dogs who are precious and we love so much. So it's kind of hard to talk about this. He did studies where he took the dogs and put them in cages. And on the bottom of the cage, there was an electric current that could run through the bottom of the cage. It would be really uncomfortable and unpleasant for the dogs. What could they do about it? There would be a pedal that the dogs could press. And there were different conditions. With some of the dogs, every first time or every second time or every third time, so it was predictable that the dog would push on the pedal, the current would stop and the displeasure or the pain would stop. There was another condition where it was random. The intervals were random. Maybe every first time or every fourth time, it was unpredictable. With the dogs in the first case, where it was predictable how often they needed to press the pedal to get the current to stop, that's what those dogs did, is they would, when the current came, they learned how to press that pedal to get it to stop. What do you think the dogs did in the second condition, where maybe it would be one time or four times or three times? What do you think those dogs did? I get different answers to that question. Some people say, well, they would just keep pressing on the pedal to get it to stop, whatever the interval is. Other people say they give up. Indeed, that's what the study showed, that when the ability to take care of themselves was so random, they would just lay down on the floor of the cage, even though there was electric current. They gave up. That's called learned helplessness. You may have grown up in an environment where things were random and didn't make sense. How did you deal with that? Did you just work harder? Try to become perfect? Did you just give up? Because what was the point? I want to give you another example of learned helplessness that I saw in my family growing up. My dad was alcoholic, may he rest in peace, and he was kind of crazy and rageful. My mother, instead of trying to rein him in or getting him to stop being angry and cruel, there was no point because it had no effect. So she just learned to not say anything and to not protect the kids and to be helpless. What I learned from that, being my mother's daughter, I learned fight for myself and never quit. Find my voice, which took me a long time to find my voice and speak up. When we are able to do that, when we have more tools to stay in the game instead of quitting, When we're able to stay in the game, we start to feel maybe safer, more empowered. We figure out more ways to get results, to not be helpless. So what did you learn how to do when things were random and you couldn't have an effect? Did you learn to be helpless or resign? Did you learn to fight harder? Did you learn to have discretion? Which battles were worth fighting and which ones weren't? For some of us, that discernment wasn't something we learned growing up. So I invite you to think about ways that you might resign or feel helpless, and to check in with yourself. Are there other options? There may be, there may not be, but it's worth checking in. Thanks for coming. We'll see you again soon.